This is Andi Purewal for ID Boxing. I'm joined by promoter Kalle Sauerland here in London. Kalle, firstly, how are you?
I'm well, Andy. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to catch up with you once again. Not as fiery as what we might have thought beforehand this press conference today, but what did you make of it between obviously Troy Williamson and Josh Kelly?
Oh, it was fiery enough for me. I mean, we don't need to see table thrones at every press conference or water guns pulled, but no, it was good, and you can tell that there's a local beef there. Yeah, and I don't need more than that because I think the fans know when this fight was announced, the reaction was phenomenal. We went on pre-sale. I think over 2,500 got already on pre-sale. So, we're going to have a packed house. It's on Channel 5. It's a phenomenal fight. You won't find an expert who doesn't like it. And for a British title fight, it's actually going. I think we're going to be at over 40 countries around the world. So, I love the British title. I think it's a very pure belt. It's a belt that leads to a lot of great things, I said, actually, before we had Linus Udofia, Denzel Bentley earlier in the year on our show. Our man Linus coming up short against Denzel. Credit to Denzel, he really put on a show in the last few rounds to take the fight, and Linus put in a great fight. But Denzel Bentley's now fighting Jan Eubank for the world title, so it shows where you can go to. It's not just promoted talk. The British title's great. The British title, 9 times out of 10 comes up with great fights, but also the winners of those generally go on to challenge for internationals. So it's great.
Looking at this fight, it's a clash of styles. Troy Williamson very much an aggressive come forward man. Josh Kelly looked at more as a slick boxer, as it were. How do you anticipate it playing out?
I wouldn't say that about Josh. I mean, I remember I've seen fights where he's thrown 3-4 uppercuts in a row and done all sorts of crazy stuff. He's not as rugged in his forward style, I'd say, as Williamson. But at the same time, I think he's a pedigree above Williamson.
One thing which I'm interested to know by a few people over social media have questioned kind of Josh's hunger and his desire since the loss to Avanesi, and obviously you worked with him since then. What are your thoughts on anybody who's questioned that?
Yeah, I often get the question around this fight. Oh, it's an amazing fight. We can't believe it got made, and I'm like, well, why can't you do it? Oh well, we didn't think that Josh would want to do the fight at this stage, and I'm like, no, he actually wanted to do some other stuff that we were offered as well in the background, and we said no, we want a British title first. He was chomping at the bit, and that's part of the process around Josh is actually to slow down what he wants to chew off, because there's a progression, and it's taking that natural line of progression. So we feel that this fight is the right time to let him off the leash, so to speak, and let him loose in the ring on Troy Williamson. We couldn't be happier about the fight, and Josh was the first to say, I want that fight. So, no, absolutely, the fight was always getting made.
Troy said that he wants to and he can end the career of Josh when they do share the ring. Kalle, is this a fight which Josh loses, it will kind of be difficult for him to come back from?
No, we're not. First of all, we're not talking losses. We're going to win. But you can't write any man off at the age was Josh 28. So no, he's completely ridiculous. But at the same time, as he said, flip it round. He's in his early 30s. I'd say he has a loss, then he's going to have it trickier to come back than Josh would. But we're not talking about that because we're talking victory, and we will be victorious on December the 2nd.
So where does where does Josh go if he's successful on December the 2nd?
I knew you'd ask that. Let's celebrate this fight first, though. I mean, look, you've got to look at the big names next year. It's Charlo, Tsu. Great names. I think domestically we're sort of done, but in boxing you never know. Saying always comes out the woodwork, but that's where we want to be going for. We want those big belts, and this is of course first we got to get our business done, our Northeast business done on December the 2nd.
Harlem Eubank headlining as well, announced that one. Talks about the fight there, Eubank versus Tom Farrell.
I'm just very proud that we've taken Harlem through this year. Every fight getting better. Cracking fighter. And I think Harlem Eubank deserves more than anyone to be headlining the show, and that on Channel 5 to a nationwide audience, and I think we'll do very well. And I think Tom Farrell, very, very good domestic opponent. It will show us, it'll be a tough fight. Expect Harlem to come through it from our side, but they'll be looking at it differently. It's going to be a tough night's work at the O2 at the York Hall. The O2's the goal, but it's one of those venues that we felt was the right place to go with Harlem as well. It's an iconic venue. We're going to have a great atmosphere in there. Got Liam Williams on the card in a very good fight. We're going to announce. Chloe Watson, Matty Harris is on in Newcastle, Lucy Wildheart. It's going to be a real vintage boxing night, and probably going to see a little bit of a different special lineup. The way we're going to do things that night. There's the World Cup on as well, so a bit of football involved as well in it. So. Great night out in East London.
Kalle, moving away from your fighters, it's obviously been a few weeks on now since the Eubank Jr and Benn fight fell through. Have you guys looked into any more as to kind of where Benn and his team currently stand, looking into the testing and what have you any further?
No, that's down to their side. But at the same time, obviously, at the time we said we're rescheduling and looking at what's going on around that. At the same time, I work on different options around that, because there's only a certain amount of time one can wait, and those options are in place. And yeah, we wait like you wait.
Do you think it's possible to reschedule the fight, obviously on the back of all the uproar around it, and as we continue to wait for more news?
Totally depends on what comes out of the investigation. What else would I answer to that? I can't make a ruling. I'm waiting to hear, like you're waiting to hear. And on the basis of that, we'll be able to say if we can reschedule or not.
Looking at kind of some potential other opponents for Eubank Jr, I've seen Brook back in the gym, his name being bandied about. Liam Smith's always been there as well. When do you kind of start to look at other options for Chris?
We already are looking at other options.
When could we expect an update then, or is it still very much waiting on?
No, it's not far away. I'd say next couple of weeks, yeah. But I mean, look, Kell Brook, on paper, I love that fight, but I saw Kell a couple of weeks ago in Sheffield. He was actually in the gym. We had a couple of minutes chat. Didn't talk about the fight. I've got a lot of respect for Kell as a fighter, as a champion. But at the same time, we're looking to get out fast, so no, won't be Brook. Smith, seen that bandied around, but like I said, that the options that we have, there's numerous different options. I saw someone else mention Felix Cash. I've seen someone else talk about Mongolia. All good fights, But at the same time, we'll look at what's best for Junior's path. This has slowed us up enough already, but we're going to attempt to make that slow up as short as possible, because he's the aggrieved party. And our plans for the big fights of next year, they must stay the most important factor here. So we have to do this in a very careful manner. So yeah, that's all I can really say on options.
Just a final couple ones, Kalle. Fury-Chisora 3 was announced the other day. There was a negative reaction online, but what are your thoughts on their trilogy?
Well, I think I get the negative comments, given that they fought 2 times before and they weren't exactly fights you go back and rewatch. But at the same time, I do think it's a different Derek Chisora. I stopped working with Derek after the first Purewal fight, and I just thought there was nothing left in Del, because Del really weren't up for boxing. And then, I don't know, he got together, I think, with David Hay, and he had a great effect on him. And Derek's really turned around his career. So you've got to look at what other options they had. I mean, I saw Manuel Charles bandied around. I mean, I think was a wind up, but But I think Derek, you know, he will come to fight. He's not going to come there to lay down. Does Tyson underestimate him a bit, having beaten him twice? You know, I think Tyson Fury's currently the best heavyweight in the world, head and shoulders, for me. But we all know that he sometimes has an off night when he sort of overlooks opponents. Just think about Otto Warlin, for example, who's not really anything too special, but he had a tough night's work there because he'd overlooked him a bit. And is he overlooking him because of the Usyk fight potentially in the future, and he sees Derek as just to keep busy? Because that would, of course, be a mistake. But you know, Tyson's a fighting man. He knows his stuff inside out. But at the same time, I understand where the negativity comes from, but at the same time, I'd defend the promoters a bit here and say, that, you know, look what's on the table as well. If the man wants to get out and has to get out, the champ has to get out.
Final one, because I know I've got to wrap this up. Wardley Gorman, November 26th, sorry. How excited you see Nathan back in there with a chance to win that British title?
Wow. Over the moon for Nathan. And we're going to take that with both hands. I think Wardley's a very good boxer. I just think Nathan's got that extra bit of pedigree, boxing IQ, and you know he's had a tough time. He's come back this year successfully, and we're delighted to have him on board, and we're delighted to deliver this shot. And you know, I think we'll make the most of it.
All right, Kalle, I appreciate your time as always. Thanks for speaking to me in ID Boxing.
Thank you.